gems, welcome back to my channel. This channel is centered around femininity, self-development, leveling up, all types of life advice for the girlies who are looking to do better, and for the girlies and the women who are tired of being masculine and want to be more in touch with their feminine side. I'm here to give you tips on how to do that. So subscribe, turn on the notifications so that you're aware of whenever I post or upload. And yeah, let's get into this video because this is going to be a very interesting topic. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Coaching with Chris. I may be changing my handle really soon, but for now it is Coaching with Chris. I'm also Coaching with Chris on TikTok, even though I'm never on there. And I also have a podcast centered around femininity as well. It's called The Mindful Feminine. So if you're interested, just go to Spotify and type in The Mindful Feminine. I can't wait to see you there. Yeah, let's get into today's video. So in this video, I will be discussing my thoughts on interracial marriage and why it is that I believe that you should marry out before you marry down. So as a feminine woman, your life's goal in regards to love is to find someone who places you on a pedestal. Find a man who genuinely desires you and is not just putting up with you. Keep in mind that the man should truly desire you way more than you desire him. So there are a couple of things I want to say before I get into the statistics and everything else. First of all, this is not a divestment channel. This is not a channel that is centered around bashing a specific race. However, this is a channel that I've built to uplift women and to assist them in realizing that they do deserve certain things and they don't have to settle for low vibrational experiences. So I also want to add here that there are dusty men in every race. I by no means want you to walk away from this video thinking that all men, all Black men specifically, are dusty and crusty and don't take care of their children. There are so many Black men who are masculine, who are creating a lifestyle for their wives to stay at home with their babies and who are actively raising their children and all of that. If you're going to decide to step outside of your race, you do not decrease the vetting process because you happen to be sitting in front of someone who is light and bright and you're thinking, oh, and you're just seeing dollar signs. No, ma'am. There are dusty and crusty men in every in every race. And I've talked about this in a previous video. I think it was the one where I was giving tips on how to avoid dusty men. Dusty does not have a color. It doesn't have a race or a creed. There are unbecoming men and just men who are liabilities in every race. However, statistically, I just want to say that. I just needed to say that. So at this point in the video, we will be referencing some statistics in regards to the outcomes of interracial marriages in the United States specifically. So I found out that in regards to interracial marriages in general compared to marriages that consist of two parties of the same race, interracial marriages are 6 to 10% more likely to end in divorce. That statistic represents the first 10 years of the marriage. So in other words, if you are going to marry outside of your race, there is a 6 to 10% higher divorce rate in the first 10 years of your marriage. A lot of things can complicate a marriage. It is probably easier if you're the same culture, the same race, and things like that. So because of that, usually there's a tumultuous period in the first 10 years. If you're able to survive the first 10 years, then you're pretty much on a trajectory to success. But the first 10 years will be more challenging than if you married within your race. The least successful interracial pairing is or consists of a Black or African American male and a white or Caucasian female. That pairing has twice the divorce rate of white men and white women, which their divorce rate is already typically at 50%. Pretty much everyone across the board is at a 50% divorce rate, other than I think Asians and South Asians, and I think Asians have like the lowest divorce rate. So that is the least successful interracial pairing, Black men and white women. However, on the flip side, the most successful interracial pairing is a white or Caucasian male and a Black or African American female. Over time, they have shown that they are 44% less likely to end in divorce. The conclusion that we can draw from those statistics is that as a Black woman, you're actually more likely to be successful within a marriage. And what quantifies as success in a marriage is actually staying married, leveling up, not living in poverty, having your children have access to their father. The father of your children lives in the same home as you. That's what we quantify as success here. And you stay together, obviously, like you're not divorcing or ending in divorce. As a Black woman, if you're going to indulge in an interracial marriage, the best suitor for you is a white Caucasian male. That's what the data is saying. Before I even move on, in fact, you know, it's very interesting that that is the case, because if your ear has been to the streets, the common theme amongst Black men specifically has been that Black women are the problem. You know, the stereotype is that we are always so defensive, so masculine. We're not submissive to our husbands. We're just the worst of the worst. We're not feminine. We're not agreeable. All of the things that we all have heard about Black women. But the funny thing is that when we actually step outside of our race and we are in the presence of a true masculine man who allows us to rest in our feminine, we're actually quite successful. However, on the contrary, when it comes to Black men in the United States, a lot of them have this very strong opinion of a strong negative opinion of Black women and how we're not marriage material and we're just the worst partners. And they uplift other races and make it seem like they are actually better wives and they're more submissive and they're more feminine and all of these things. But when these Black men, who are never the problem, when they go to other races, they create single parent homes. They abandon their children. They're the least likely to live in the same home as their children. They're not involved in any rearing aspect of their seed. What we are finding is that these women who are not Black, who are non-Black women, so they're having the same complaints that Black women have been bringing up for the past 5 decades. So it's just very interesting. And what we can gather from the statistics, if you're going to go by the data, clearly Black women are not the problem. And the reason why I think this happens is because a lot of Black American men have an issue with color. They have an issue with low self-esteem. They have self-hate, and they have been emasculated for whatever reason. So they are not, a lot of them, not all, because I mean, my father was a true provider. So I've seen so many other men in my lived experience that are true providers, true protectors. But there are that many more men, Black men, who are not doing what they should do and not creating an atmosphere for the women to rest in their feminine essence. So, you know, it has to do with low self-esteem, and that is why this channel is so much about internal work and less about external factors, because you are a mirror. Your experiences with other people are a mirror of what is going on internally. So if you have bad self-esteem, if you don't like yourself, if you don't respect yourself, you're going to attract dusty men who don't like and don't respect you and don't value you. You know, I mean, those types of men will always try it with anyone, whether you have high self-esteem or not. Dusty men are everywhere. They're going to try it with everyone. They're going to try to get with anybody. But it's up to you to have incredibly high standards and great self-esteem, so that when the dusty men start to reveal their dusty traits, you know enough to say, oh, this is not working for me, and actually I'm out of here. Have a nice life. And remove yourself completely from the toxicity of that situation. Yeah, and a man with low self-esteem is not going to be of use to any feminine woman. And a lot of Black men have an issue with self-hate and low self-esteem. It's very prevalent, and it's been going on for a while. And I think that they should probably focus on that instead of focusing on women. Okay, so let's talk race loyalty and Tyler Perry. What I want to say in this portion of the video is that a feminine woman should be marrying for class and not race. In regards to race loyalty, it seems, or not it seems, it's quite literally, studies have been done about this. Black men are the most likely, or have the highest incidence of marrying outside of their race, or dating outside their race, or being involved in an interracial marriage. The statistics are that most Black men marry Black women in this country. Most races marry within their race. However, there's an influx of Black men marrying outside of their race, which is fine. We don't need to get up in arms about that, and I'll explain later in this video. But Black women statistically are the most racially loyal when it comes to choosing a partner. Most Black women want a Black partner. However, most Black men statistically are open to other races. Tyler Perry a couple of weeks ago went on this podcast, you know, Mizia, yeah, the caricature of Black women, yeah, that guy. He went on some podcast and was telling Black women that we're too successful and we need to settle for a man who can only pay a light bill. And settle for, specifically his wording was, a good man who can only pay a light bill. A good man who can only pay a light bill. That doesn't exist in my world. Anyone who's actually experienced life knows that a man who can only pay a utility bill is not a good man. He's not happy within himself. He's angry. He's probably abusive. He takes all of his frustrations out on his partner because he can only pay a light bill. He's a grown man who is watching his wife or girlfriend or whatever pay all the bills, pay the mortgage, pay the rent, and he's just there being a good man. No, that doesn't exist. He can't be a good man. If he can only pay a light bill, he is pressed, perplexed, and very angry and not nice to be around. Yeah, and basically he was just saying that, you know, Black women are too successful and we need to just, you know, as long as he has a good heart and he's a good man, we should deal with him because, you know, we should deal with a man because he can just pay a light bill. And I just don't see other races of men getting on podcasts and saying that to their women. Like, why are we telling women to abandon their femininity by settling with a man who is going to force them in a masculine role? It's incredibly damaging, this message. Why are we constantly telling Black women that that is acceptable when it is subpar for other races and everyone knows it? Why are we not telling Black men specifically to do more? Why are we not telling Black men to go back to school, further your education, create a career before you sit in a woman's house talking about, I can only pay a light bill? Why are we not telling Black men to be more successful so that they can get the respect that they so crave from their women? I don't understand why I'm not seeing that message more. Furthermore, why are other women not being force-fed this dangerous narrative that they should settle for bums and losers and dusties? I'm so perplexed about this, and I don't understand why this is happening to us. Why are we being shamed for wanting a providing man? So that's enough about Tyler Perry. I mean, I feel like what he said speaks for itself. If you have the feminine mindset, you already know how damaging what he said is. But I mean, honestly, nobody really takes him seriously because he's known as Medea. He's known as the man who literally panders to women, and the messaging in most, if not all, of his movies are that the rich guy is going to be abusive to you and he can do nothing for you but just create a certain lifestyle, but you're going to be miserable and bruised and battered. And the good man is the guy who's driving the bus with the crusty braids, but he's a good man. Ew. In regards to race loyalty, as a feminine woman and as a feminine Black woman, if you are Black, you need to kind of disembark on that whole like being race loyal messaging or desire if you want to truly have a feminine lifestyle and have a certain man. Having a man or obtaining a man of means is a numbers game. You need to cast a wide net. Being so devoutly race loyal leads to the scarcity mindset because you're feeling like there's not enough Black men to go around. Oh my God. But why is it that you're even just paying attention to Black men? Like, why are you doing that? Who made you feel like other races of men will not truly desire you? And the funny thing is, as a feminine woman, or just as a woman, period, if you even, as a Black woman specifically, if you even talk about a desire of you stepping outside of your race, and if you're in the presence of Black men, you are met with such resistance. And I do have a story about that. I remember, I was raised in a predominantly white neighborhood, and I was in middle school at this time, and I'm not sure why I asked my parents this question, but I did ask them, like, what do they think about me getting married to someone outside of my race? Specifically, I think I said white. We were all sitting at the dinner table, and my mom was like, I don't remember what she specifically said, but she was in support of it. She was just like, as long as they, love you, or they are Christian, or she probably said something like that. And I remember my dad was just like, oh man, I would really feel so bad for you if you went down that road. And I'm like, I didn't really internalize it or anything. It didn't affect me in any way, but it was just like, you would feel bad for me if I found a white man who loved me? Like, really? Really? Is that the worst thing that could happen? In other settings where Black men are present, they're never going to just say, hey, yeah, that might be a good idea, because a lot of us Black men are not treating you guys right, or a lot of us Black men do not genuinely desire to be with a Black woman, or statistics say whatever. You never hear Black men talking about these statistics, really. Oh, and one thing that Black men will say is, oh, you'll see if you go that way, or if you go with a white guy, once he gets mad at you, and he's gonna call you the N-word. Really? Oh. So all of these interracially married women, all of those or most of those Black women, you think they're being called the N-word in their home? Granted, I do hear the stories of mixed kids when some of them have a white mother I've heard of mixed children being called the N-word by their white mother. I've heard of that. I get it. It exists. But the way how they just wield that, like, that's not a common enough scenario for you to just throw that in people's faces. You're going to be met with a lot of resistance if you even express this in the presence of a Black man. Just know that. So just be choosy in regards to your feminine journey, and even allowing people in on what your plan is or what it is that you actually seek. You have to just tell yourself, listen, I'm going where I'm celebrated, and if it's not here, then it will be elsewhere. And I'd much rather deal with whatever comes with that, knowing that I am a kept woman. My children have access to their father. I married a good man who actually worships me and loves me, all of my Black features and all, versus dealing with someone who is your same race, who treats you like trash, or who may treat you like trash. Really not focus. Your focus shouldn't be on race. It should really be about class, right? Feminine women should be marrying for class, not race. You have to really face the fact, like, why are you stepping out of your race? You know, and that's a whole journey that you need to make peace with, because all men will play in your face. And I just really want to drive that point home. You know, yeah. So they will make up any kind of excuse to just keep you race loyal, and even if it's hurting you, and it is hurting a lot of Black women, specifically darker skinned Black women. Next subtopic is colorism. Let's define colorism. Colorism is the belief amongst a non-white racial group that anything that is closer to being phenotypically white or light is deemed more beautiful, socially acceptable. Colorism exists in every race that is not white. Primarily, it's derived from colonialism and certain caste systems that were placed in these countries that were colonized. And through that experience, a lot of people have, still to this day, have these thoughts in regards to skin color. The thought that anything that is light or closer to white is better and beautiful, and anything that is darker, even if it's the majority, is deemed ugly and undesirable and something that needs to be fixed or remedied. Because of this, a lot of Black, dark-skinned women go through hell with Black men who look just like them. If you are a dark-skinned woman, feel free to leave a comment below about if this resonates with you or if this correlates with your experience in this country. But I've seen things, I've heard men say things, and Black women go through a lot. They, as a result of self-hate from men and colorism, they're often looked over, teased, made fun of, treated as if they are like ugly or undesirable, essentially. And a feminine woman cannot thrive in an environment like that. Like I stated before, statistics show that a lot of Black men, most, marry within their race, but that does not take away from the fact that colorism does exist. So I want to say to dark-skinned Black women who are finding it difficult to be celebrated by your own race, then I would pose this question to you. Why are you not looking elsewhere? And what is holding you back from that? Because I promise you, the very things that some Black men will make you feel so insecure about, like your natural hair or the darkness of your skin, and so many other things, and jokes disguised as insults, and insults disguised as jokes, and things like that, that still exist in Black culture. Why are you putting yourself through that? We already know that colorism exists. You desire a better life, you desire better outcomes. Then why are you still almost like begging Black men to do right by you? Some Black men, right? Why are you not just looking elsewhere? Because yeah, the very things that they can make you feel extremely ugly about, like your hair and your skin, another man will be like, this is everything for me, and oh my God, where have you been all my life? And once you get a taste of that experience, you're not going to want to settle for anything less than that. And sometimes, unfortunately, you can't find that within your race as a dark-skinned Black woman in this country specifically. You deserve to present your femininity to the right man, the man who will cultivate it and not exploit it. Rewire your mind to genuinely crave men who are going to treat you well. And the best way to do that is to work on your self-esteem. Your self-esteem and what you think of yourself and your core beliefs of yourself determines the type of men that you are going to attract. I'm always trying to get you guys to turn inward, because we can point the finger all day, just like a lot of Black men like to do, and point the finger at every Black woman and say, it's her fault, it's her fault. It's, you know, you guys are just too much or whatever. But at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is there is a self-esteem problem. There's a colorism problem. And some people address it and most people don't. So it's something that is not going to go away anytime soon. And as a feminine woman, it is not your job to march in front of the race war or be at the front lines of the race war saying, you know, I'm going to die by this race. Like, no, why do you have to do that? If someone could leave a comment below as to why is it that Black women feel like they need to cape for the whole race, when it is quite literally the job of Black men to do that, because they are the leaders. They're supposed to be the leaders in our community. It goes against your femininity to be the one fighting for the race. That's not even your responsibility as a woman. As a woman, as a feminine woman, you're supposed to be kept. You're supposed to be receiving. You're not supposed to be, you know, organizing things for the Black races. Leave that to the men. So take the cape off, put it down, fold it up, in fact, burn it, because you're not going to need it anymore, and start putting yourself first. So don't just go blindly into interracial dating or marrying or marriage thinking that, oh, every white man is going to treat me well. Like, no. A lot of white men are looking for a fetish. Don't just go into it blind and thinking, oh, I'm in a safe space now. Like, no, you're not in a safe space. You need to properly vet these men, and you need to pay attention to the things they say, the undertones, microaggressions, all of that you need to pay attention to. I just want to leave you with this note. Don't let your type keep you from or close your mind off to a man who will allow you to truly rest in your feminine, because you do deserve that. You are deserving of a better lifestyle. You are deserving of a man who will create that lifestyle for you and who will give you the things that you need in this life so that you can truly rest in your femininity, if that is something that you do desire. And I'm assuming that that is something you desire because you're watching this video. So dealing with men who are just putting up with you and who are not worshiping the ground you walk on is not something that any woman should have to deal with, but especially a woman who is protective of her femininity. You're embarking on this feminine journey. I want you to keep in mind the statistics that we went over today, as well as the notion that you don't have to be race loyal. Do some soul searching, maybe write about it in your journal tonight as to why you feel like you need to why do you feel like your only option is to marry and date a black man? The whole race war, race loyalty card, it is a scam. It is a scam to play with black women's heads, specifically to make them be a part of the scarcity mindset. It's not your job as a feminine woman to figure out why is it that black men are the way, some black men are the way they are, what their dating patterns are, what they're doing, who they're marrying, because you're too busy focusing on who's focusing on you. Not exploiting you, but actually bettering you and creating a legacy with you, a substantial, respectful legacy with you. Race loyalty thing is a scam, and it's a way to keep women in a mindset where they will be perpetually jealous of black men and whatever they're doing and just concerned with what they're doing. But the reality is, we shouldn't be concerned with anything that most black men are doing, because we're focused on what is serving us. A man who is going to work for us, work hard for our children that we're going to create, and give us a life of respect, a life of where we're able to be feminine, where we can perform as our best selves. So that concludes my video. I appreciate all of you guys watching. If this message resonated with you, or if you have any opinions in regards to any of the topics and subtopics that I presented in this video, feel free to leave a comment below, like and subscribe, and share with anyone who you feel like they will benefit from this message. And I will see you on the next video, guys. Stay safe. I'll catch you later. Bye.